Hey guys, it's Jess. I'm here with Student Music Network and I am today chatting to Billy Lockett here in Oxford at the O2 supporting Scouting for Girls. Thanks so much for chatting to me.
Woo!
Yeah, thanks. See, there we go. That was my intro. I actually did write a bit of an intro bit for you. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, go on.
Billy Lockett, Piano Man, Best Mates with Beyonce, Only Friends with James Corden.
Only friends? I thought you said
Oh, sorry.
friends,
No, Only Friends. I mean, Only Fans. I don't know what got happened on that bus, to be honest, but not sure if I want to know. Toured with Lewis Capaldi, Birdie, Lana Del Rey, and soon to have your second album out.
Yeah.
Yay! Was that a nice intro?
Yeah.
Yay, good, I'm glad.
It's all true.
It's all true. Everything's real.
Apart from being to Beyonce, that's not true.
You know what? I loved your bio on your website. Brilliant.
Made that
Did
bit
you?
up. Yeah.
You know, I Googled, and the first thing I always Google when I'm interviewing someone is, who is so-and-so? And the first thing that came up was, it said, I'm a piano man.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, because I'm not really piano man anymore. That was the only thing as well that wasn't true. The second album is also guitar. It's actually more guitar than it is piano. But for my whole career until this point, I have been very much just stuck on the piano. But recently I'm trying to evolve. Yeah.
We're going to get into all of this. But so far what we've learned is that you do really well in Two Lies, One Truth.
Okay.
With the game.
Yeah,
Do you know that game?
Yeah.
Because you've got The Lie, Piano Man,
course,
Beyonce. But the truth is, he has got a second album coming out, I promise.
Yeah, that is true.
Speaking of the second album, here we go, we're getting serious. The second album, it's called Things Are Looking Up. Out in a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Facts. That's another truth. And it draws from a lot of personal experiences. You also produced this album. Do you find that producing the album, having it being about such personal experiences, makes it more of a comfortable experience for you?
Yeah, it's completely me because I've made the whole thing, and it also means that I have like way more time to make it, and sometimes a song I can be fiddling with it for like some of them literally years, you know, and constantly tweaking things and changing things, and it doesn't like cost me a fortune to keep going back to it. So yeah, and every sound and the songs develop way better when you're producing them because you can kind of do anything you want. You feel completely open, whereas before I was kind of stuck on the piano. It felt like everything I did was a ballad. Always. It was always a ballad, and there was never any drums or anything like that could build it up. And also a lot of the time when I'm producing now, I'll sort of move something somewhere and I'll accidentally move it in the wrong place, and then I'll kind of be like, oh, actually that sounds kind of cool. And then so it's sort of evolving in a completely different way because I'm sort of doing everything basically. Yeah, it's made me fall in love with music in a completely new way. Yeah.
Now, I heard on another interview you did, actually, I did much prep, that you made this album and a lot of the songs on this album for your dad.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to talk firstly, I know you've already said it before, but in a different interview, this one's way better, which is the song on the album which you think your dad would like the most. But secondly to that, which is a song on the album which you're the most proud of and that you like the most?
Oh gosh,
Sorry.
I think he'd like a lot of the songs on the album. There's one in particular called Our Funeral, which is quite a long song, and it's not really a single, but it's dark and it's gritty and it's got a real pumping chorus. It's my favourite one, and I think it would probably also be my dad's favourite. I think my dad was really into a band called Free. Do you remember Free?
I don't know.
They did that song, all right now.
Oh, yeah, of course I know
baby,
Free. Yeah.
And anyway, so all of their songs are amazing, but you've got to listen to more than that one. That's just a hit. But the guitar tones and the solos and things, we've really tried to sort of match the new album to that sound. And Our Funeral is that. It's a real like anthem, but it's long and it would never be on the radio and it would never be a single. And you know when you just know like it's too dark and grungy, but yeah, that's probably my favourite, and I'm pretty sure it'd be my dad's as well.
That's so nice. So you've got matching favourites.
Yeah, I think we probably have a similar taste. Yeah.
Now, for anyone who hasn't heard your music before or Googled you and read Piano Man, and obviously we've just spoken about Free and guitar influences,
Yeah.
and as well as a lot of your dad's influences, which I'm sure come up in your music. How would you describe your music to someone who is interested in listening to you for the first time ever?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I do. The sound is so different on every song. I can never really make my mind up on genres, but the one thing that I think hopefully streams through it all is just honest lyrics and very real. I always try and write about things that I know about, and it's a sort of a diary, really. So a lot of the time it's not like, I don't really beat around the bush with lyrics. So yeah, I would say genuine, honest, and used to be really sad, now kind of hopeful, you know?
Good, we've turned a new leaf.
Yes,
Turned a new
exactly.
page.
In
I don't know
life.
if turned a new page in life.
There's a new leaf in the page.
Turned a new leaf in the page. Very eco-friendly around here. Now we're going to talk about a bit about tonight. Obviously, you're here with Scouting for Girls. How does performing live compare to being in the studio or the basement / on your own?
Yeah,
Respectfully.
it's a new research. It's tricky because I love both sides. It used to be all live. Live was the thing. But I've got to admit, nowadays, I actually think the studio I enjoy more. Yeah, just because when you're in the flow and you know that you've got something really exciting, you just feel so pumped up. And you can have that feeling for like, 2 or 3 weeks where you can't... There's points if I'm working on the third album at the moment and there's almost every song on it. When I'm in the middle of it and I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got something really good here, I'm waking up at like 5 a.m. and racing down to the cellar just to work, and I'm like, I can find myself like rushing to get ready and rushing to eat my breakfast just to get down. So yeah, I think it lasts longer. Whereas, don't get me wrong, the shows are great. I've done a lot of shows for over a decade now, so it doesn't have the same hit sometimes. And I think as well, now that I've got a band, when I play band shows, it fills me with this excitement. And if I'm brutally honest, I don't get the same excitement solo, just because I've done so many gigs like this. Don't get me wrong, it's still fun, but it's just become kind of normal now. I mean, even tonight, it's awful how quickly you get used to situations, because every show on this tour has been 3,000 or 4,000, and tonight is the smallest venue, and it's mad how, a couple of years ago I would have been blown away by a room this size, and now I walked in and I was like, oh, it's actually quite small. And then you're thinking, what is wrong with me? Do you know what I mean? I should be happy that I'm playing in front of more than 50 people, but still, yeah, the studio is where I'm getting the most buzz at the moment.
There's a couple of things you've said in there which I kind of want to come back to, but the first thing I want to say is that, so you've obviously mentioned you've been making music for over a decade. Yeah. You've had a crazy career. Twitter kind of got you signed, almost. You've performed on The Voice, you've had a #1. Obviously, we've already mentioned people you've gone on tour with. And you saying that you like the studio, arguably, sometimes, more than performing live. Do you think that is because of your experience within the industry so far? And how do you think that your experience with looking after yourself on such like an adrenaline-fueled career path and journey has evolved through your years of making music?
Yeah, I think maybe, the reason I like the studio more is it feels like the only thing involved in all of this that isn't to do with anything but the music. It's just purely music, 100% music. Whereas everything else, I feel like as soon as I step out of the cellar, it's like, and it's interesting because you say I've had a successful career. I really don't feel successful. I really feel like I'm still not where I want to be, and it still feels like a struggle, like all the time, not even sometimes. And there's always, different sort of parts of the industry that are trying to take from you, and you've got to jump through so many hoops when it comes to reach on social media, and industries taking cuts of things that they haven't put money into, and you've got to pay all these different people. So the whole business side of it really gets to me, and and that makes me feel like I'm not successful, and it also makes me feel like I'm not very good at it, and I'm not sure of whether I'm making the right decisions. Whereas when I'm in the studio, I'm certain that synth part works, and I'm certain that I got that vocal take right, and and I'm certain that I feel something from that lyric. Whereas everything else, I feel like I'm still trying to learn, and it doesn't come naturally. So I think you just enjoy things more when you know that you're good at it. And really, I only started doing this because I liked music, and it's a shame that I've sort of had to be a businessman at the same time and a decision maker, and that's really difficult for me because it isn't about the music. It feels like it's a totally different job that I didn't really sign up to. But that's why you have I've got a great manager and a great publisher, and I've got all a great team of people around me who guide me. But essentially, everything else about this industry outside of the cellar bogs me down. If I'm honest, I'm a little bit like, oh, why is it so hard? But, yeah.
Do you think that's because there's such a huge maybe it's a misconception or I want to say storyline, particularly which we as human beings consume outside of being within the industry, that you're going to get a big break and suddenly that's your golden ticket to the moon and the stars, and then you're not going to have to do
I've had so many big breaks. The Voice, James Corden, tours with everybody, and they're not big breaks, they're breaks. It's like steps, really. You get something and it gets you another couple of thousand fans, and then you get something else. But the hard thing is, it's like you have to hold on to that momentum and try and hope that people keep remembering you and keep coming back. And a lot of the time they don't. So you almost feel like you've kind of got to start again every time you come back with a new album or a new tour or something. So yeah, it's difficult trying to stay relevant. And then it's also difficult that you have to want to. Sometimes I don't care about being relevant. I just want to make a song and that's fine. But it's it's not going to sell unless you keep going, hey, look at me, I'm still here. And that in its own right makes you just feel a bit like a sort of a second-hand salesman, just trying to push something. And that isn't what I don't know. The marketing side of it is the draining part, really.
Yeah.
But without that, you can't make any money out of the music. So
it's hard being a businessman in this economy.
Yeah, it is.
Now we're going to go back to one of those breaks which you mentioned. I actually don't know if you mentioned it, but I'm going to mention it now, just in case. And it's something which I found quite funny. I watched it on your Instagram, and it was when you called your mum to tell her that you got your number one, and you went, "Mum, I've got a number one," and she went, "For what?" How did it feel to get a number one? That must have been a high.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was only number one for literally about 7 hours, but it was there, and I screenshotted the hell out of it when it was there.
More than 6.
Yeah, exactly. It was an amazing feeling. And it was nice to just have a little while of feeling proud of myself and thinking, okay, right, I've accomplished, I've ticked something off the list of things that I wanted to get, and there's not that many things on that list that I have ticked off. I think maybe I put the bar a bit too high for myself.
No such thing.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be great, and so the downside of it is that sometimes it's hard to sort of accept that you're doing well, because you're worried that if you accept it, you'll stop growing. Yeah. At the same time, the other side of it is sometimes you need to look around and smell the bacon and be grateful. And I know that there's thousands and thousands of artists that would kill to have done what I've done, and that's great. But for me, I'm still not satisfied. But that number one was a nice little moment. Yeah. That
was the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful moment. Now, I'm going to ask a question, and if it's rude or good way to start. But if it's rude, or I'm trying to think of another word other than rude, can't think of one, or offensive. Leading, offensive, or literally just got the wrong end of the stick, please tell me.
Sure.
But you're neurodivergent as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that because you're neurodivergent, that is what makes your inner belief system in, you want to achieve these goals? Do you feel that sometimes that is what stops you from being able to appreciate where you are at the minute, maybe. And as you said, smell the bacon? Do you think that's part of it, or am I just literally barking up the wrong bacon?
Yeah, maybe there is something to do with the Tourette's that constantly makes you feel on edge, and I struggle to relax because I can never really sit still. But at the same time, I think it's just, everyone's got weird quirks to themselves. I definitely, if anything, I think having it helps drive me because I can never really stop. And it's also maybe the reason why, because I'm an addict as well. I'm sort of in recovery at the moment, but I think maybe when I was a drug addict, I was really good at being a drug addict, and I went so hard on that. And
I don't know if I should be laughing.
yeah. I just nailed it. I absolutely smashed it. And now that I'm not, I've got all this same kind of energy and drive, and I'm not putting it in drinking drugs, and so it's got to go somewhere. So in a way, that's also been a really good drive because I've almost become an addict at work now. Yeah. And I definitely think that a lot of people who are addicts, who are normally neurodivergent as well, end up being quite successful because they just have an unusual amount of energy that was used on drugs and is now used on, whatever they're doing.
It's so interesting. I watched going a bit off topic, I watched a interview the other day, and I didn't realise the statistic between neurodivergent people and addicts. Yeah. It's staggering. It's huge.
Especially ADHD.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's so interesting to me. I was like, wow, I would. Because I think as you don't learn that.
Because with me, it was. Are we allowed to say this on the radio? But
we could always cut it out. I'm sure. I don't know what you're about to say.
Well, with me, it was cocaine I was addicted to, and when
might not be able to say that on the radio.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, most people with ADHD, cocaine has the opposite effect. It calms you down. So when I took coke, I wouldn't talk that much, and I would listen a lot more and chill out a bit. Essentially, it's a similar family to the medication. Ritalin is supposed to kind of, if you don't have ADHD and you take Ritalin, you're going to be all over the fucking place. But
it's an upper, not an...
Yeah, it's an upper, but when you've got ADHD, it calms you.
How interesting. Wow, the more you know. Yeah. Well, maybe I should take it back to some radio appropriate topics.
On YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'll put it on the YouTube. So obviously you mentioned you've been recording your third album, and I know this from my research. You've been doing that backstage.
Yes.
Not in a basement, but I'm assuming on the bus.
Yeah, not really on the bus. Normally in hotels and in dressing rooms and things. I've got my laptop and all that stuff, so I've just been mixing and. It's so much fun. What
kind of things can people expect from that album? Never mind the second album, the in the future third album.
It's like big pop. It's like a huge pop record. Yeah, it's like disco-y, dancey pop. Yeah,
I love that.
It's massive actually. I'm more excited about it than the second album now. But that's always the way, isn't it? Yeah. You're always one step further on. But I'm pleased that my production's getting so much better now. The second album, I feel like I was learning how to produce, so a lot of it isn't as like when I listen to it now, I'm thinking, oh God, why didn't I do that and that? But yeah, the third one's like polished.
So stay tuned for the third and the second, which is coming out on the.
Second one's great, by the way. Second one's really good.
You know what? I've actually heard it. I haven't.
Please buy it.
Please. Let him get the third one out as well.
Let this be for nothing.
Now, my final question, and then I'll let you get on because, you have actually got a show to do. But if the people in the audience tonight, if there's one thing they take away from watching you this evening and hearing your music, what would you like that to be if you had if you could choose?
If they could take away a hoodie, that would be great because I spent a fortune on them and I've massively over.
Have you got one to show?
No, I don't actually. No, I don't actually have one. But my mum thinks it's the worst business decision I've ever had in my life, so I really need to sell these hoodies. So if you could take... Okay. No, but on a serious note...
Buy a hoodie, guys, seriously. Maybe I'll get one. How much are they?
They're 45 quid.
£45. I don't know if I can afford that, to be honest.
It's really good quality, It's great.
Where did you get them made?
Not China. What could you take away? Hopefully you take away going, oh, that was nice. He was a nice guy, and those songs were nice.
And we want to buy his second album and third album and 2 hoodies just for good measure.
Yeah. I did have socks as well. My marketing line was Billy Lockett.
I love that. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, what else could you do? Bike locks?
Bike clocks, yeah.
I'm giving you bad business ideas. That was such a polite...
Lockets, I could do necklace lockets.
With a photo of you in the middle.
Yeah.
That's nice. There we go, wow. Anyway, I feel like we're going a bit off track here, but thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me. Thank you to Student Music Network for organising this interview, and have fun tonight.
Cheers.
I'll buy maybe a hoodie if I can afford it.
Buy a hoodie.
Please, everyone buy a hoodie. guys.
Bye.